One thing I learned in the Navy, especially dealing with nuclear reactors,
It would probably be treason to do otherwise.
there's a reason why we allow teenagers to operate these mobile reactors all over the world and we have zero incidences. I had this boss, I knocked him out once. He called my wife some unsavory names. The only thing that kept me from going to the brig was when I was stressing so hard, my wife's finally, she's like, look, I'm done dealing with you. You need to go out there and don't come back until you and God have come to a decision about what you're going to do with this whole military thing. So I go sit out on the edge of this volcanic crater underneath the stars. And I was just like, God, I can't do this anymore. And I would like to say at this point, the skies were black and there was this loud booming voice. There wasn't. There was nothing. Right? Nothing. The guys who were sitting there originally, every one of them was like, dude, what kept you going? It's like, man, it's my faith. They're like, how's it your faith? They're like, it's just, I'm doing what's the right thing to do. So, I went from being the most hated dude on my submarine to the most respected dude on my submarine in less than 30 days. That's it. That's all you can do. And every time in life, I've discovered if it gets crappy,
Bennett.
Dryden.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How's it going?
It's a day.
Today?
It's been a day.
What is a day?
I don't know. If it's anything like yesterday, man, all I was doing, I ran around from going to Dallas and then I went to 2 different festivals.
What kind of festivals?
One was like a fall festival
Okay.
at a tiny town. Actually put on by a Baptist church, hosted by a Baptist church, who I'm friends with that pastor.
Isn't it early for fall festivals?
It was put on by a city and they were looking for a place to put it. And they had a gym that they could use, so they used it.
Huh.
No sooner than I helped him finishing setting up all his sound and all his sound gear, I had to leave and go back to Sherman, which is where I'm from, to do the we have a wine stroll there.
A wine stroll?
Wine stroll, like throughout the year, the city does things to try and promote downtown businesses. I don't know if y'all have anything like that here.
Yeah, we have like the Blueberry Festival in June, and then there's a few other events that will occupy this downtown area.
Right. But, the wine stroll is one of our annual things, and as a company, because we own escape rooms there on the square. Oh, me and my wife do. We thanks. We sponsor it, and so as a sponsor part of it, you have a person that comes in and actually pours the wine. Like they have a special food handler license, I think, to do that. That they also regulate how much is going out.
So they can't just distribute out or self-serve.
No self-serve.
Everyone's getting plastered.
But we've during that time frame, there's no point in us running any rooms with that many people coming through the building. So what we do is we put the wine pour all the way in the back of the building and let everybody stream through so they can see all our escape rooms, and we put snacks in each room. That way we just get exposure.
After everyone's plastered, then you should have them stuck in the escape rooms. Because you probably charge by the hour, right?
Well, we do charge by the hour, but I don't necessarily need them. I don't need them. Well, charge by the hour per person. Don't need them tearing my stuff up. Last night was fun. I got to deal with several drunks. It's like, all right, so now I'm bouncing people out.
How do you deal with a drunk?
Most of the time, they're very talkative. I haven't had to deal with any
Barnery ones.
The way the city does it, because they have a craft brew one that comes up in the spring. So like they have all these craft brews out there. The type of people they attract aren't your type of people that are going to cause problems. They might get drunk, but they're not going to cause problems. They'll just talk your ear off.
Is this like a wine tasting kind of thing, like to taste the different wines, or is it just more?
You can taste. Yeah, you taste different wines. Like they have different companies that are put out. So I can't remember which one we had. I know we've had Messina Hoff in the past, which is that one.
But is the goal around just like, is it a community thing or is it like a wine tasting?
It's a wine tasting thing. We do have some local wineries there because we actually have a junior college that grows wines. And so there are some vineyards in our area, but they try and promote that kind of stuff. And again, it's also get people out in town, get them to see the businesses, during those things, we're always giving away things like, hey, here's a free pass for, we'll give a free pass to one person. But the thing is, you got to have at least 2 people to show up. Yeah. So that's how I get business back in.
Escape rooms.
Escape rooms.
How'd you get into doing escape rooms?
My wife and I have come to love playing escape rooms. And then one day she's like, we should start one. And about 2 weeks later, the one that was locally went up for sale. And so we started talking to the guy. And he liked us enough. He's like, y'all have a real passion for it. He goes, I want to see this succeed. He started it in his garage, and he wanted to keep it as a family business, but as it was, his kids grew up, they went to college. They didn't want to be a part of it. His wife wanted to go back to work, so he felt like he was by himself. So he decided to sell it off. So we bought it off him. And as such, every time I build a new room, I have him come in and test it out for free. I'm like, hey man, we got something new for you. Contract out.
How do you go about designing a escape room?
That is all my wife. She's the one that comes up with all the puzzles. All she does is comes to me and she's like, hey, I need this, like we may have maglocks or something. Such as, I want this box to open after a certain sequence of events take place. And I have to sit there and figure out the DC circuitry to put it all together.
Okay. So you engineer.
I do a little bit of that on the side. For the most part, day to day, she runs it all because it's not a business that makes enough for me to quit my day job, which is working at a power plant. So you got to pay the bills somehow.
Yeah. What do you do at the power plant?
I am a shift supervisor at this point. I have 2 guys that work for me. We run 4 3-man crews, 24/7. It's always manned. So we rotate. In fact, this weekend I'm off. I'm flipping from night shift back to day shift. So tomorrow I'll be back at work at 5 a.m. Not fun.
Not fun. But early bird gets the worm.
The job itself is not bad. It's just the hours can suck. Because there are time periods where I do 70 days working 12s.
Okay, 70 days in a row.
Yeah, that's my streak has been right at 70. I think it was right 77.
Wow. Why do they have you hauling that long?
We had a turbine that had damage and had to be rebuilt, and so while it's being rebuilt, we have contractors on site, and they need people to help them out, and we call it sponsoring, but essentially you're the company rep. You're there to ensure everything's going on.
But there has to be multiple versions of you.
There are. There's 4 others of my peers. And there's other people that do the jobs of the sponsors. My job in particular is making sure the plant is ready to support the maintenance, like start it up, shut it down, run it. I don't actually do the maintenance. That's the maintenance department. But
so what was going on when that cold snap happened 2021?
That was a fun night.
Yeah.
I was sitting on the board watching it all happen.
Okay.
I don't know how much y'all know about generators.
A little bit.
So most generators are spin at 3,600 RPMs, at least the power generation ones that are here. If they are a single, north-south monopole. If they're a dipole, they'll spin at about 1,800 RPMs. Because that's how you get your 60 hertz frequency that we use.
Okay. What is dipole?
What's that?
What is dipole?
It's basically you have 2 north, 2 souths, but they're split, turn 90, so that way you can do half the speed of the generator.
Gotcha. Is the phase like 180 degrees off?
Well, they're all 120 degrees off.
Okay.
Because that's what you still get 3 phase out of it.
Okay.
But if you do the dipole, you can make it smaller. However, when you spin it slower, you can have a larger turbine. Nuclear plants do that one.
Okay.
I think the one at Comanche Peak may have one. I don't remember. I have to look that one up.
Do we have any nuclear plants in Texas?
You have 2.
Oh, yeah.
You have Comanche Peak and the South Texas Power Project or Nuclear Project. That one's down southwest of Houston. And the Comanche Peak is out in near Granbury, kind of where he used to be from.
Yeah. So what happened on this aforementioned night?
The wind stopped blowing.
Okay.
That's really what it came down to.
How do you guys generate power?
We use natural gas where we're at. Basically, it comes in, we burn it in a big giant turbine, almost like what you'd see on the side of a airplane, if you want to kind of picture it that way.
Okay.
We don't do the turbojets where the wind goes around the outside, but essentially you've got the flame coming in, and it spins 4 sets of blades due to the heat trying to pass through it. And as it does spin, it spins an air compressor on the other end. And that's just compressing the air, because the more air, the denser you can get the air when you burn it, the better of a flame you'll get. But since it's spinning, we attach it to a generator. It can produce about 230 megawatts off the back end. Then all that heat comes out. It's about 1,100 degrees. When you burn natural gas, I don't remember the temperatures off the top of my head, but if you're cooler temps, then you're going to get a lot of like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. But if you burn it as high as we are in the 1,000 to 1,100 degree range, it burns all the carbon off almost. So you're left with nitrous oxide.
It's very clean.
Essentially, yeah. With the nitrous oxide, you can take ammonia, which is NH3, combine them together, run it through a catalyst, and now you're getting nitrogen and water out the back end. So they are very clean in that
Okay.
regard.
Hmm.
We take that heat. We do get it cool off though, because
Did you heat water as well?
we do, yeah. So
Okay.
that hot temperature passes through this thing called a steam recovery generator or HRSG. They're I want to say about 9 or 10 stories tall. They're huge. And we have a high pressure steam, an intermediate pressure steam, and a low pressure steam that all come off and then go spin a steam turbine. And the steam turbine spins 3,600 RPMs, but it actually is a 360 megawatt producing machine, so it can actually outperform one of the gas turbines. But we use 2 gas turbines to 1 steam turbine, so it's what's called a 2x1 combined cycle.
Okay.
There's a lot of those in Texas.
Okay.
We have a lot of natural gas. So they're great in terms of how fast you can start them. From the time I hit start until the time the first generator comes online is 10 minutes. By an hour, I can have that thing up to full speed.
Okay. So it still takes a little time.
It does. Not unlike nuclear plants, which can take anywhere from 4 to 8 hours startup. And then the coal plants, those take 12 hours to heat up as they're bringing them up. They take forever. And I've never worked at a coal plant, but I've worked with a lot of guys who have. And so they always tell me the horror stories, how long it takes on those things.
Huh. They got the black lung?
Uh,
We're probably not exposed to the...
I don't know. I'm more worried about the Legionnaire disease that comes from working around cooling towers.
Oh. It's the bacteria from breathing in steam.
It's a lot of the wooden cooling towers, just the moisture.
Wooden cooling towers.
Yeah. So like, but we don't do those. We have fiberglass in ours. Yeah, that's what they're all made out of nowadays. The problem is when I look at an industrial site like these power plants, I can't help it, but I watch movies like, what was that movie? The Hunger Games. Did you ever see that?
Mm-hmm.
The last one they made, where they're going in that district and they're running through the industrial portion and you keep seeing them go by all that industry. They pass by the same power plant like 5 times.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there going, yep. I know exactly what that is. I know what that is. It's kind of like the newer version of Star Trek that came out, but back 2009?
Mm-hmm. The Chris Pine one?
Yes. When he goes in to the shipyard, they pass by a massive cooling tower with they add CGI to the top of it, but I'm like, that's a cooling tower. I can't help it.
You gotta have some real world stuff. Most people don't know what it is.
I can't help it. I see that stuff everywhere I go. So now I see the movies all the
Yeah,
time.
that's how it is. Like when you're in any industry and you see them start making entertainment about your industry or components of your industry, you immediately know what's wrong. Yeah.
But going back to that night,
That cold night.
Yeah.
we worked 14 days straight. And then when I say we, management brought the entire team in. They split it in half. We had half the guys on nights, half the guys on days.
Well, how did this start?
As far as, well, we knew the storm was coming.
Okay.
Did
you know it was going to be as bad as it was?
We didn't know exactly how bad it was supposed to be, but the thing is, it's what, October right now. We're already prepared ready for this next winter. Everything we need for this next winter is already set up and put in place.
Mm.
We usually stay ahead of the curve.
But are you more ready now, having gone through the 2021 snap?
The only difference, I think, has to do with how many outside people we bring in, because we bring in contractors. So with that particular case, we have a bunch of like torpedo heaters that we put all around the site in case something starts to freeze up. That plant was designed for minimum of 15 degrees ambient on an average. That's what it was designed based on all the historical data of what the actual temperature is in the winter time frame. We saw -7. Nobody alive has ever seen -7 in Sherman, Texas. -3 was the coldest they've ever seen. So here we are facing temperatures that nobody had seen ever. Like I said, it was on the backside of that storm, that winter storm that was passing through. The wind just stopped. In less than 5 minutes, ERCOT lost 10,000 megawatts of wind generation. And it's not because the wind turbines froze up. There's
no wind.
Yeah, there's no wind. And that's the only downside to wind generation is you can't make the wind blow any harder.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like solar. Solar did me no good at 1 a.m. So there was a daisy chain effect, and we could see, if we were watching voltages on the line, we could see it spike, and every time it did, You could see more was being pulled from us because our megawatt, we were capped out.
So was other plants going down?
Yeah, other plants going down. And it was a kind of a daisy chain effect. And it got to the point where we actually, so when you have one of these big, massive generators spinning at 3,600 RPMs and it's locked in with the grid, it will stay spinning at 3,600 RPMs no matter what, essentially because it wants to maintain that 60 hertz frequency. It's locked in electrically on the generator side. Like if all of a sudden I were to take all the steam, the thing would still spin at 60 RPMs because it's locked in. Now, you went from being a steam turbine to a steam pump, which is not something you want to do.
Okay.
But it does keep it going. Like it started slowing down. The machine itself started slowing down from 3,600. I think I got down to 35, 50.
Like from the draw?
Yeah.
The
Just
load?
sheer amount of load being put on it. And usually our procedures used to be I would punch that thing out so that way it wouldn't or damage itself. My manager's like, nope, you let that thing break. You let them break us. Because if it came down to it, if we broke off first, then we were liable for the whatever monetary loss it was. But if they broke us, then ERCOT was liable to us.
Gotcha.
So it was a interesting event. The other part to that was we had some things that were leaking water. They generated some massive icicles hanging off this thing because we didn't see above freezing temperatures for 5 days. Again, that's not heard of in my part of Texas.
Yeah, not too normal.
Normally we get below 32 for 36, maybe 48 hours at most. But for 5 straight days, never came above freezing. That was the first.
Yeah, I know there were a lot of pipe bursts during that storm, and there were a lot of, I guess, emergencies that couldn't quite be fulfilled.
That was the other problem. Like, our gas supplier was like, we need you to back off. We're like, we can't back off. They're like, well, we don't have the gas. It's like, well, that's a you problem. Get to giving it.
Oh,
It was interesting to watch all that. Going back to, we're talking about emissions control, like how we add the ammonia to it to get that NOx to where it's water and nitrogen. Airgas is the company that brings us our ammonia from south side of Dallas. So they're like, the roads are too dangerous. We're not putting hazardous cargo out there. I don't blame them. The roads were icy. So we're like, oh crap, what are we going to do once we run out? We hired another company to come in and bring it in. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about
we can
those
clip
kind of
whatever
things,
if you need,
but yeah, they brought out, we were hiring other companies to come in like, hey, we need this. The interesting aspect to that is, in a political sense, we had gotten directed by the Department of Energy and the Texas Council of Governments, both
is
of them.
that federal or is that
Federal and state.
okay?
Both of them said they basically said, you can violate your emissions controls. No penalties. Put as much megawatts as you can on the grid. So we violated quite a bit. Like, that's one of our limiting factors. I can push that plant to about 750 megawatts, but if I push anything past that, then I run into the risk of having an emissions control because I'm pushing too much NOx through there that I can't keep up with it. In order to keep up with it, the ammonia we try pushing more ammonia, but it's not reacting. And so you'll end up doing what they call an ammonia slip, where ammonia is coming out the back end, and EPA frowns on that.
So you're emitting ammonia and nitrous oxide.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kicking that out. And the carbon starts coming up at that point because we're trying to get it all. We can't insert it. So it's an interesting concept. But the fact that the government's like, yeah, go ahead and violate the environmental
I mean, when
controls.
push comes to shove and you gotta,
I found that interesting because, I've always sat there and go, especially the administration that was in, I'm not going to try and trash talk anyone in particular, but I found it interesting because they're supposedly the ones that are like EPA friendly, like we're environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
Unless money's on the line.
But I mean, how much environmental damage are you doing by letting all these pipes burst and causing a backlog of carbon on that side and all the manufacturing, production, trucks driving around fixing stuff?
That's the real question. That's the other thing is like, that we're hoping they'd get into the rolling blackouts instead of the brownout. You don't want anything browning out because then you just burn your motors up.
What's the difference between a brownout and blackout?
Brownout, you're still attached to the grid when all your machines get to the point where they're not pulling enough. And you take a 60 hertz, I don't know, say a 480 volt motor. If you're only pushing like 350 volts to it, that thing's going to eventually, it starts to slow down. And since it's not rated for that, it can burn itself up.
Okay.
Then you just have equipment damage on top of losing whatever it is. So the rolling blackouts is, okay, let's drop power, forcefully drop power, We weren't in charge of that. That was actually done by the local electric company.
Is that just shutting down the whole system or shutting down the generator?
They have like mini grids in the city, and they start opening disconnects. Like, you can probably drive through town. If you know what to look for on those poles, you'll see them. They're like little air switches. They're only about yay long on some of them. They got a little crank down on the bottom, and so they'll just pop them open. When they do, it just cuts off that block or that street. It all depends on where you live. We lucked out because at the time the house we lived in was down street from the old hospital. So they still had power.
They had to keep that on.
Yeah, they had to keep it on. We do have a facility that's back there that was, I think it was a hospice facility that they still had vital machinery to, like life support that kept people on. So they do try and keep hospitals on the grid. Of course, hospitals have their own generators in the case of emergency. I don't know what sizes they are, but that was definitely an interesting experience.
Sure. I can imagine. Any changes come from that? Like major changes?
Oh, there's been a lot in terms of government regulation. ERCOT changed a whole bunch. They pretty much fired their board they had and brought in a whole new group. Changes on our end have been very minimal, but mainly it just comes down to us being prepared. It's October, beginning of October right now, so we have to be everything ready to go for the winter by November 1st.
Okay.
And they have and they can come in and inspect it, which is interesting because my plant manager that I used to have, that's what he does now. He works for ERCOT, inspecting plants, make sure they're ready to go. Like, can you handle a winter storm? What are the steps you've taken to mitigate this? There was a lot of finger pointing back then. Who's ultimately responsible?
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And then they were blaming Ted Cruz.
They were blaming
got like nothing to do with it. Like he's federal representative. He can't.
I'm trying to remember. I was part of an NDA. Well, it was part of a. Don't really say anything under the previous company I worked for, but then we got bought out, so I don't know if it applies. But essentially, there's a group in Houston of lawyers that were like, "Oh, hey, y'all had insider trading on this," and I'm like, "How do you have insider trading on the weather?"
Right.
Yeah.
When our plant stayed online for one reason only. It took an entire team effort. Everybody from management down, every one of us was there.
You weren't like, our stock's going up.
The management, well, actually our sister plant, we had a sister plant, and she actually got sold to a different company in Temple. That one, it had an issue where it was overdrawn, and one of their transformers caught fire and burned down, and that ended up bankrupting that plant.
Oh, wow.
Whereas we made out quite well. Originally, like ERCOT, and you can actually look it up on your cell phone or on the internet, just ERCOT.com. Very first page shows you how much extra megawatts you have. Ben, you looking it up? Yeah. So, not ERCOT.
Yeah, ERCOT.
It's that East Texas redneck. All right, so scroll down over there. Just scroll down that main page. So you see that little green thing, 14,844. So that's how many megawatts you have extra right now.
Extra.
Prior to that winter storm, ERCOT always kept at least 3,500. And if it got below 3,000, they started contacting spare plants. Hey, we may have had you shut down for the day. You start getting ready to start up. We saw it drop below 1,000. And once it got below 1,000, since my plant put out 750, one more plant trip, the entire state would have gone. It was kind of puckering. Now, as you can see, they keep a ton of people online.
Okay. So is that more emissions?
No, that's just how many plants are. There's 14,000, almost 15,000 megawatts extra than we need right now, than what we're drawing.
But like that doesn't get stored anywhere. That's just created and.
Yeah, it's just created and kind of hanging out there in the open. We don't have a battery that hold that.
Yeah. But when you say hanging out in the open, like, is it?
If everybody started their air conditioners right now, you might suck that up.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, when you don't store the electricity, so it's in the grid, but if you don't consume it, what happens to it?
It just disappears.
That's what I mean by, is that greater emissions then? If you're keeping more megawatts in the grid because you're pushing more, you're burning more coal, natural gas, whatever to keep that rolling.
They really do try to do their best to minimize that excess, but also keep it above. They've changed the numbers. It's now kept above 5,000 easily.
Yeah.
So they always want to keep 5,000 up.
All right.
Yeah, you can. If you ever want to know what's going on, you can always look like that one with the state there. If you were to pull that little widget up, you can put your cursor over each dot, and it'll tell you what the plant's making right there.
So the white off to the side there.
That is a different grid, and I think actually y'all guys are your county's in the other grid, so y'all are actually part of the main one of the United States.
Yeah, so over here, that's why things. Although where we were over in Rusk is I think part of the main Texas grid. So when we lose power in Nacogdoches, we wouldn't lose power out there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Interesting.
There are all sorts of theories that I heard from people. I talked to people down in the Houston area who were linemen at the time. They're like, yeah, we've been building these lines. And basically the conspiracy theory was it was all a setup to force Texas to join the main grid instead of keeping its own.
But it didn't seem to work. Did it?
Oh, no. I think if that theory is still going, then there's still more to be done.
What is the pros and cons of joining the main grid?
A little bit more stability in the long run. The con is if Texas ever said, screw you, United States, I'm gone.
Really? So is it...
Then they have to disconnect from the grid.
Right, but I mean, ever since I've been in Texas, seems like every 5 to 10 years, you get a group of legislators or you get a group of people that still want to secede.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was applicable to this as well, with regards to independence.
That's one of the things. Like Texas would like to keep its independent grid if possible.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there are rules that you have to follow, set forth by what's called FERC, which is a Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. The scary part is, I don't know, do y'all remember the blackouts in the Northeast, early 2000s?
Can't say so.
I was actually in New York when that happened. I had just left on my nuke plant there, was headed home when all that power went down. We were without power for days. It was a massive blackout. Took out, half the seaboard, DC. And after that, they passed this regulation, which caused FERC to come about and set up federal guidelines. And then they said, hey, we want to get some, other people involved, and they put bids out to see a company. Well, this one company comes together and says, yeah, these are the regulations we propose. So they gave this private company called NERC full federal authority to levy up to $1 million a day penalties to any power plant in the states. And they're not answerable to anyone.
Interesting.
Who gave them that power?
Interesting.
The FERC, the Congress.
So was it an elected group of people who gave that power, or a non-elected group of people?
It was a group of. It was it was a commission that was underneath the Congress.
Okay,
that gave the private people that power. I have not agreed with that. NERC has acted so far in good faith for the most part, but my question is, who regulates them? Nobody. Like, they say they're answerable to the feds, but when they have the ability to fine a company $1 million a day if they're outside of the regulations that are set forth, and they're the ones making it up, and they've got the federal government's authority to do it, but they're not part of the federal government, I'm like, this is a little bit not right.
I don't know. Have to look more into that.
Sounds fishy.
Like I said, so far it's been
Which way do we want to go with this? Do you want me to go down my government conspiracy theories, or I learned a long time ago when I was in the Navy. I served on submarines for 4 years. I was in the Navy for 8. I was in nuclear power the entire time. I taught for 3.5 years in New York. But I remember one time we were getting ready to be deployed, and we were living in Hawaii at the time. So the Honolulu Star-Telegram puts out this article about what my submarine's are going to be doing. And I'm like, this isn't what we're doing. So I go down, I show it to all the rest of my guys that we're about to go out and be deployed. I'm like, hey guys, did y'all know this is what we're doing? And they all look at it and they're like, where did they get this crap? And that was the first-hand experience I ever saw where the government lies to the media. The media puts it out just to cover up exactly what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was a matter of national security. Every submarine movement is considered national security. Like, I couldn't even call my wife on the phone and tell her what's going on. I had to tell her face to face. She was the only person I was allowed to tell her when we're coming in or leaving.
Okay.
Emails, all that stuff was regulated. Like, I couldn't tell anybody when I was leaving or when I was going. And it's a tactical reason, you know. You don't want anyone to know what your movement's going on. How well or familiar are you guys with the Spratly Islands?
Not terribly.
Ever heard of them?
No, where's that?
South China Sea.
Okay.
Spratly.
Yeah, we're going to be all over the place today at this rate. That's good.
Wouldn't be the first time.
China's been building a base there because they believe there's a giant, huge oil well underneath that thing.
Wait, hold on. Are these the islands that they're bringing in dirt and essentially creating islands?
Yeah, so the Spratlys, well, naturally occurring, they're a very shallow area.
Gotcha.
A typhoon can roll in and change the entire landscape.
Right.
And just by waves alone. The international resource boundary, like, you know, most international water boundaries are what, 8 miles out? China says 12, but most people just say 8. But they have what's called the economical or the resource one, and that extends 200 miles out from each shoreline. So if it's, say, like fisheries and that kind of stuff, like, you know, it belongs to who's ever within the 200 miles. The problem is with the Spratlys, you'll notice Vietnam, Taiwan, the Philippines, Brunei, China, they all overlap.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So hold on. tie this back to what you're referring to about being
deployed
submarine.
On the being deployed.
I mean,
we just got tasked to make sure they all played nice for once.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
But this was a while ago.
Oh, this was 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
That's the unclassified portion of the mission. So I can tell you. If y'all ever want to hear the real stories, well, we're gonna have to turn off everything.
Sure.
There can't be anything electronic when we have that conversation.
We can make it happen.
Yeah, there was some interesting. So that was back 2004. So when I came home, 2008, they had the Chinese, or where China was hosting the Summer Olympics.
Okay, Beijing.
Yeah, and I came home and I'm like, oh, we're friends with them still? Because I thought we were about to shoot each other.
Oh wow.
Oh man.
So yeah, I would assume while you were in, you had a completely different outlook on relations with other countries, and then when you got out, it's like now you're getting fed the propaganda.
Well, yeah, now I see the propaganda for what it is,
right?
And that is every time there's something big in the news, it's like, okay, what are we distracted from? Where do we look? Where are we looking? That's that military side of me always questioning what's going on. If this is in the news, what are you distracting me from? You know?
Yeah. Oh. What do you think they are distracting us from?
I'll tell you this: if they're distracting you from it, you're not going to know.
Isn't that the truth? Even if you know,
is it nefarious though, or is it?
It's self-interest.
Self-interest. Whose interest?
The powers that control our country. Their interest.
Yeah.
You know, the whole Afghan war, global war on terrorism. You know, oh hey, we're after this particular Muslim group. I thought they were in like Iraq. Why are we going to Afghanistan? What's going on here? Something about opium fields and control of that. But I got that secondhand information from a Army intelligence specialist.
How long have y'all known each other?
What was it, 96, 97?
That's about right, yeah. I was just a wee little lad.
Little Ben.
Bennett taught me how to play chess.
I don't remember that.
He doesn't remember it, but
I do remember us playing chess. I don't remember teaching it.
It is a core memory for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we went to a very, very small, I'm talking max 10 people Christian school.
Do you know that Christian school has one graduate?
Is it you?
It is me.
Yeah.
One graduate?
Well,
did they get shut down?
No, it didn't necessarily it got disbanded, I assume.
The building's gone.
The building's gone. Oh.
Yeah, it was it's been almost 10 years. I went out to Betsy and Jackie Robinette's like 30th wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
And that's when I saw all the Sandovals and ran across everybody that we saw there pretty much. What was Cindy, what's her name? You remember her?
Mm-hmm. The Sims.
She had the twins. Saw
Yeah.
her. We caught up. But yeah, the building was torn down. It was
Gone.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it had fallen apart.
Hmm.
So, man, where do I start with all this?
Where we met? Or how you ended up
How I ended up there.
in a rural town of De Leon, Texas.
So there we are. Years ago on this wonderful day back in spring of 1981, this young baby boy was born. No, I'm just kidding. Oh,
All the way back to the beginning.
we moved out to that little area. And so my mom had just recently divorced my dad. I was a teenager. I guess my rebellious phase started about this period.
Hmm.
I grew up going to homeschool. I like to say I was a drug baby. My parents drugged me to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday evenings, to the point I hated it and resented it.
Mm.
One of the things I really came to resent was there were other boys that were my age, and we were all friends. We'd go out and get in trouble, doing harmless stuff, just not. We were off exploring the city when we shouldn't have been. We'd wandered too far.
Doing what boys do.
Yeah, just doing what boys do. Nothing like going out and actually causing real trouble. I always got blamed for being, well, it's your boy's fault. Like they tell me that. I remember my dad for once standing up and being like, "Your boys are just as guilty as my son, so I don't want to hear it."
Were you guilty?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm just saying I wasn't the only one to blame.
Mm.
But you grow up and you start getting labeled that in your own home church that, oh, you're the troublemaker. Well, my mother was a licensed teacher. And for years, she actually, before I got to the B&T school age, she actually taught alternative schools. She used to tell me about one of her students who he was there in the alternative school because he killed a couple for $50.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What do you mean by alternative school?
It was where pretty much like it was at the time, the way she described it is it was like a juvenile detention type it's high school for kids in juvie.
Okay.
So they're basically in prison, but they still have to get an education. And so
Gotcha.
she was in there teaching. So she got to see the bad side of that kind of things.
How come he wasn't incarcerated and tried?
Oh,
as
he
an
was.
adult?
I don't know why. This is back 80s, man. I really don't know on that one. I just remember her telling the stories of it, and she dealt with all sorts of degenerate. I say degenerate. Now looking back, I'm like, oh, they're probably a lot like I was.
Right?
Right. So she grew up seeing the bad side of people, and so when the time came for us to go to public school, she's like, yeah, you're not going to public school. And being a hardcore believer she thought, we're going to be a bad influence being at public school because they're teaching non-Christian ideals, evolution, all this. So I was either homeschooled or private schooled almost my entire schooling career. Drove me nuts. Made me actually come to resent her a bit.
Okay.
But we were part of a homeschool group that still exists. The Southwest Dallas Homeschool Association still exists. Back then in the late 80s, early 90s, even to the mid 90s, the parents that were there, again, somehow I developed the reputation of being blamed for everything, even though their kids are doing everything right alongside with it. So
Maybe you just weren't quite secretive enough, or you didn't like.
I started leaning into this.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be in trouble for everything, why don't I just have fun and do what I want?
Okay.
Well, enter my early teen years, my parents decide they want to get a divorce. And I was like, I don't want to remember any of this. So one of the guys, my mother was homeschooling at the time. He had been kicked out of all sorts of schools for his own issues. He introduced me to this lovely little plant called marijuana. And I liked getting high because I was like, I started doing it at 13. I started smoking out with them, and my parents at first didn't actually know I was doing it. And the whole thing was, I just didn't want to remember. I was tired of listening to them fight. I was tired of all that crap. I was like, I just want to escape from this. And now I understand why people do drugs. They want to escape from reality. I get it. I'm not saying it's right. I just get it.
All addictions just about.
Yeah. And so they ended up getting a divorce. The home church that we grew up in pretty much ostracized both my parents. And my mother, I remember her telling me one day, she's like, well, God told me to divorce your dad. And I'm sitting here going, none of this lines up with scripture. The way this church has acted, the way I've been treated, the way they've treated my family. What is going on here?
How so? How do you mean it didn't line up with scripture?
Well, she always used the verse, test the spirit, and I'm trying to remember how that passage is written, but basically it's ask the spirit is if Jesus is still alive, if they say no, then they're of the devil, or if they say yes, then they're of God.
Okay.
And so, but the thing is, God hates divorce. Says so all the time, I hate divorce. He says it quite a few times. And I think it's 1 Corinthians, where he talks about, Paul talks about wives, don't divorce your husbands. There are circumstances, I would say an abuse, like if he's abusive, yeah, get out of it. But in this scenario, it wasn't abuse. It was just they stopped caring for each other.
Mm.
My mom was, as I got older, I realized my mother had some I think she was autistic, honestly. Looking back, I saw, she passed away in 2014, so that's why I referred to her in the past tense. My dad's still around. He's a difficult guy to deal with sometimes. I love him to death, but he's difficult to deal with. They were both difficult. And so I can see how they split after 20 years. But you're pulling up there, huh? Look at him, Mr. Google going. But it's the idea, right? And so, I was like, well, can a spirit lie to you like this? They're like, oh no. I'll circle back to that one because
but
that one's something I've learned in the last 5 years.
There's lying spirits.
Oh, there's lying spirits that God will send you if he's mad at you.
Mm-hmm. Well, mad, there's a presumption there.
If your name's Ahab. We'll get back to that. But
it was sent to Ahab's prophets.
What I was trying to get at. So they go through the divorce. Her dad comes back into her life. He had been disappearing. Now that dude's a whole nother story. You grow up in Texas?
More or less.
So where Texas State Technical College is in Waco?
Kinda. I mostly stay on the east side of the state.
Did you ever go there?
I went to college there.
You did?
For a semester, yeah.
So one of the founding members is a guy by the name of Roy Duggar.
Okay.
Roy Duggar is an interesting man in and of himself. He's got a building named after him there. I call him Grandpa.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, he was once
your grandpa?
He was, yeah.
Was.
He passed away in 2015. Oh.
You don't just call some random guy grandpa.
Okay. No, he was my mom's dad.
I didn't know that.
He was an interesting character. He actually owned the house in Comine that we lived in.
Okay, cool.
So he shows back up and he tells my mother, he's like, hey, I'll pay for you to go back to school, get your master's so you can get a job that's actually worth making money. And she chooses to get a master's in special ed. And I swear, I think she did that just to take care of me because I'm pretty much special ed as it is. That's a whole other story. But yeah, so we move out. That's why we moved out there. So we moved from South Dallas area. We were actually living in Duncanville. My dad got to keep the house in the divorce, which is weird. He got to keep the house. She moved us out to the middle of nowhere. And so since I've now been ripped apart from everything I know, I'm angry. That might explain why I was the way I was.
Walk in young second, third grade Ben.
Yeah, Ben meets me. I'm a stoner. I'm angry. I'm sorry, Ben.
No.
That's where the influence comes from.
No, I mean,
No.
What grade were you in at that time? How much older are you than me?
You said 81, so
74, so
7 years older.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I think that was sophomore year. Because freshman year, I pretty much did homeschooling in the hood in South Cedar Hill, where I got beat up for being the only white kid.
That's a fun experience.
What I did to stop getting beat up was I went out and found the local drug dealer, bought like a quarter bag of weed, went and found the gang leader and smoked out with the dude. After that, the guy's like, you're cool. We're not going to touch you since. And I was like, drugs saved my life.
There you go.
Right.
That's a political tactics.
Do what you got to do to survive on the streets, man.
Yeah.
So soon after graduating, being the only sole graduate from Lighthouse Academy, then you go into the military.
Yeah, I joined the Navy. I gave up drugs for joining the Navy. That was probably the best decision I ever made because I realized a lot of the guys I hung out with, I go out and see them now. They're still doing the same thing. Like, what are you doing with your life? I don't know, man, but I totally enjoy it. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Eat, drink, and be merry. For tomorrow we die.
Pretty much. Vices in the Navy. Oh, man, I was a smoker. Yeah, I was a raging alcoholic there for a while. Right as I turned 21. Oh, man. You know, there's a reason why sailors have a stereotypical of them being drunk all the time. And
because it's true?
It's true.
It's true?
It's true.
Drunk offshore or onshore?
Both, if possible. No, you're not allowed to drink on boats anymore. I did
but
get
back in the day.
I did get to a point. So when
back in the day when you were in a 300 years ago, you got a ration of beer.
Some navies still do that, like the Australian Navy.
Yeah,
they still get 2 free beers a day.
Mm.
Join the Aussies.
Join the Aussies. I mean, they are a colony of criminals. That's how they got started.
Criminal lifestyle. Eventually, I think governments will make us all criminals.
Okay.
But
what does that mean?
I think if we let governments go too long, eventually they'll just make up stupid rules.
Oh, so they'll find any reason to criminalize the populace so that they can
let's take a look. Like, what are some of the dumb rules we have? Some of the dumb laws we still have today. I mean, I used to read through them. I can't remember. There's like a book I had where it talked about, this one town in Indiana, like you can't get up and sing through your neighbor's window before sunup. Like, how's that a law?
You're not allowed to put a horse in your bathtub.
Yeah, those kind of things.
Yeah. Dumb laws in Texas. I mean, somebody was putting a horse in their bathtub.
Why?
And it was causing problems.
I could understand if that's like an apartment building. Like that would make sense. But if it's their own house, let them have it.
The laws don't get created for no reason.
No,
milking another person's cow. Well, that's theft.
Yep, milking another person's cow without their permission is illegal.
Horsetail light?
Alligators?
Why can't I not raise my own alligator?
Alligators and camels is illegal in some cities, such as Corpus Christi. To raise alligators in your home and in Galveston to have camels wander the streets or beach.
So, somebody had a camel that was wandering about.
Oh, man.
And they had to make an ordinance.
Can't sell your eyes in
Selling
Texas?
eyes.
Just remember, you can't pee on the Alamo.
Well, it's the sale of human organs, including eyes.
Including eyes.
Now, some of those make sense, okay? Some of those make sense.
Permit for bare feet. The idea that a permit is required to walk barefoot in public in Texas is a myth. Okay, good. Whew.
Okay, I don't like this idea that you can't sell the Encyclopedia Britannica because it would tell me how to ferment beer. That's
I'm kind of on board with that no barefoot thing in public.
It depends on where you're.
Oh, I didn't see this one. Good call, Bennett. Yeah, you cannot.
That's bull. I'll have to have that repealed.
I wonder if that.
Considering all the micro craft brews that people do in their house now.
Said there's a law that specifically bans the sale of entire Encyclopedia Britannica, reportedly because it contains a recipe for homemade beer.
That must be like a local ordinance. So
how dare they?
I don't know. That's one of those things that's gone away since the advent of the internet.
Feather dusting.
Dusting a public building with a feather duster is illegal in Texas, though it's unclear if this law is still enforced.
So you see, you can become a criminal for whatever dumb reason some lawmaker.
Well, you'd have to get charged and
I think
convicted.
It's enforcement of said laws. Yeah. They're not even aware of it.
Sometimes you got to know the laws better than them. Like,
wait, there's a law requiring windshield wipers, but not necessarily a windshield, which is a loophole allowing you to drive as long as you have wipers.
There you go. I like that one.
Yeah, one thing I learned in the Navy, especially dealing with nuclear reactors, we were never taught to follow orders blindly. In fact, we were taught you follow the reactor plant manual. It is the holy grail Bible of reactors.
So if you're being told otherwise,
it didn't matter what rank they were. I was to ignore them.
Gotcha.
I mean, if it was the chief of naval operations telling me to do something to violate the reactor safety, my job was to say, nope.
Who wrote the reactor safety book?
Admiral Hyman G. Rickover started the whole program. All hail him. No, I'm just kidding. May he rest forever in peace. He's the father of the Navy nuclear program and very near and dear to all us nukes. He was forced out of the Navy by President Reagan.
Okay.
Every branch has a high-ranking general or admiral that they all answer to. But there's one aspect dealing with the nuclear program that has another 4-star admiral that does not answer to anybody but the president. He's called they call him NAVCO-8. That's his title. One of the NAVCO-8s is a guy named Admiral Donald, and he retired some time back. In fact, Boeing actually has him right now because he's going in to fix their QA program. Boeing.
They have him.
That's
acquired him?
Yeah, they've acquired him. He took a bunch of his nuke officers in there. Yeah, I talked to one of my friends that I met via video game who works at Boeing, and I was like, so has this guy showed up? He's like, yeah, the QA paperwork's just gone nuts. It's like, well, follow it. It'll stop things from breaking. Right. There's a reason why we allow teenagers, well, barely teenagers, barely 20-somethings, to operate these mobile reactors all over the world, and we have 0 incidences.
Because they follow the manual?
You follow that book.
It would probably be treason to do otherwise.
I don't know if I put it at treason. But I would say it taught us a healthy respect of always knowing what the book said, right? One of my greatest mentors always told me, like, know what the rules are. That way you can always bend them to your favor.
Okay.
I've used that line of thought process. Going back to my escape rooms that we own, we opened up a second location in a city to the north of us in Denison, Texas. And while we were in there, I butted heads with the building inspector. I do not know how she acquired the job, nor do I know what kind of training she had. I just remember sitting in a meeting with her, the fire marshal, the commissioner of planning and zoning. We're sitting there and we're talking about how to classify the building because she wanted us to have a certain fire suppression system. And I'm sitting there going, I don't own the building. I'm just a renter. It's not my job to do that. But she kept insisting. So I was like, okay, well, what code are you using? She's like, well, we're using the 2018 building code. And I was like, okay. So I downloaded it onto my phone. From a previous career, I used to run through building codes. And so I pulled up this specific code she's quoting, and I straight up was like, okay, so this applies to a building that's over 5,000 square feet. Well, we're a little under 2,000. So how do you say this is applicable when we don't meet the criteria? And she's like, did you seriously just download that to your phone? It's like, yes. The next time we come into a meeting like this and you sit there and tell somebody what the rules are, you better have the book out in front of you and actually reading it because you're lying to me right now. She was mad. The fire marshal and the planning and zoning commissioner both laughed because they're like, we've never seen anybody do that. I was like, what? Pull out the actual rule book and look at it?
God forbid.
Years ago, I was taking a Texas history class at a junior college working on my degree. And they had the first part of the semester, we went over the history of Texas and how we came about. The second part, we were this mock-up city council. And I thought it was great because all the roles were just randomly assigned, and I got assigned the planning and zoning guy. Well, they gave a scenario where they would give us a different scenario every day, and we'd have to sit there and hash it out. The city council would have to hash it out, whether or not how the scenario would play out. And one of them was this strip club that was located downtown wanted to expand their building. And for the next 45 minutes, it's nothing but a moral argument going back and forth.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask for more if you got some. So at the very end, the professor goes, well, we've heard from everybody, but we hadn't heard from the planning and zoning guy. And so I was like, I just have one question, and it's directed to the owner of the building. And the guy's like, okay, what's that? I was like, do you need this expansion in order for your business to thrive? He goes, no. I said, well, in that case, according to the sub rule here in this location of the book, we can't do this because if he needed to survive, then we could give him the variance to allow it to happen. But since he doesn't, we can't give it to him. Everybody goes dead silent. Everybody's flipping the book back to that page. And the professor goes, I've been teaching this class for 15 years. I've never once seen anybody pull that rule out. I was like, it's right here. Forget the moral argument of it. What do the actual rules say? That's one of it's one of those things I have to say. I attribute to my Navy nuclear training, like
Okay.
what the rules say,
Mhm.
which has applied to a lot of my life, like the scripture thing, right? Going back to scripture and like where my mom comes from. I started questioning coming out of the Navy. I started questioning everything. Like, I had some interesting experiences. Man, do I want to talk about these?
That's up to you.
Yeah, I'll talk about this one. So, I wouldn't say my faith has always been strong. It's been very rocky. Back in my teenage years, what I saw a version of God and coming from all the church hypocrites that I dealt with, I wanted nothing to do with it because I was ostracized. Like I was telling you about, homeschool. I'm ostracized. At my church, I'm ostracized. Like, how are y'all supposedly having the love of Christ if y'all are just sitting there telling me how bad of a person I am all the time?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, and I hadn't even done anything bad by that point, but then I started to, and then I was like, like I said, I leaned into it. I'm thankful for my wife who helped me keep my head on straight, and she would not agree to marry me unless I got my life right.
Okay.
But
how long have you been married?
22 years at the end of this month.
Okay.
She's put up with me since. She's been great. She really has. I wouldn't say it's always, it's not always happy-go-lucky. We've had our fights, but for the most part,
sure,
she's my best friend when it comes down to it.
That's the best kind of marriage.
We were actually friends for 5 years, never dated. We just decided to get married one day. But
like we get along. Might as well.
Right. There's an attraction there. There's some other parts of that story we're not going to go into. She's been good. Mm-hmm. But she kind of grew up with some of the same backgrounds. I had some of the same questions I had. But I hit this period. I had this boss. Him and I did not get along. In fact, I knocked him out once because he called my wife some unsavory names.
Okay.
And when I hit him, the only thing that kept me from going to the brig was there was a master chief who witnessed the whole thing. And this guy, all he did was work out. That's all he did. He was on his what's called a twilight tour. He's getting out of the military. He's got no responsibilities. All he did was work out. He pins me to the wall, just has me pinned, and he's got a hold of me, and I'm trying to break free. I'm seeing red. I want to just beat this guy up. And he just whispers in my ear. He's like, I need you to calm down, man. I heard everything that was said. I'm on your side. Just calm down, relax. So I eventually did calm down. I can attest that was the last person I ever hit in anger. And it's been 20-something years. I've kept my anger in check since then. But him and I didn't get along, and we ended up butting heads. He was my boss. He's always telling me what to do, and he's just like, I'm gonna make your life miserable. I want you to get out of the Navy. I was like, it's already miserable. I got to deal with you every day. It's a strange turn of events. I got assigned the task of making sure all the guys on our submarine went to certain schools because you have to have certain people qualified when you get deployed. And then prior to every advancement cycle, before you can take the test, you have to go through a leadership class, second class petty officer leadership class, third class petty officer leadership, these kind of things. And so I sent the school, this was right as the Navy starting to start up their online programs that they have. It's a submarine. We don't have online. We don't have internet. We did. It was slower than AOL.
You don't have like a Skynet or just sitting kind of up there.
It was
Starlink.
slow.
You have a Starlink just sitting on top of the.
I wish. I mean, this is 2006.
Yeah.
So this guy made it his career made it his job and his duty to make me want to get out. And he made sure that I never had more than 24 hours away from that submarine when we were home. So I was always there. Well, in the process of all this, we ran into an issue where the people teaching the courses are like, hey, you've got to do all this online stuff at night. And if you don't do it, we're just going to kick you out, which means that they can't take the advancement exam. That's half our guys. So I go to our command. Well, at the time we called him Cobb, chief of the boat, the senior enlisted guy. I was like, hey, what are we supposed to do here? Like this, they're telling us if we don't do all this online homework, and we've got 3 slow computers, and we have 100 guys that are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Can I send them over to this? Because we had a computer center not far from where the submarine was parked, and then we had one across the base. Like, can we send them over there, even if they're on duty? He goes, well, let me think about this. Well, he goes, And while him and I are having this conversation, some other guys who were leads for their departments came up and started asking the same question because their guys were telling the same thing. Hey, I need to be able to go do this online stuff, but I can't do it on the boat. How do I resolve this? This conversation goes down. My chief sitting right there, doesn't say a word. I go back, and I had duty that day, which means I'm spending the night on the boat. And then I had to go to the school because I myself am also in this school because I'm about to take the chief's exam. And about halfway through the shift, I come back and they said, well, the COB made a decision. We're going to send all you guys that are in school back home. And I was like, well, I got duty tonight. They're like, just go home. I was like, okay. Are you sure? I just want to make sure. And they're like, go home. I was like, all right. So I did. Come in Saturday morning, and the entire crew's pissed off at me. They're like, it's your fault. You didn't want to stand duty. You just want to do your school. So, because what they did was they took 2/3 of the crew to send to the school. So they just got, for the next 5 days, they're not there. So the guys that are remaining, they just basically stayed the entire dang time. Because you can't leave a nuclear boat by itself. You have to man it.
Just like,
yeah, you have a skeleton crew. You have a shutdown crew.
Just like hit the locks and
so
the alarm on.
Yeah. So they're all blaming me, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? Well, I log into my email, and I see this email chain that was started by my chief. Basically, he's going on and on about how I was crying about it. Like, oh, he's just being, I think he called me MM1 Fairy Pants was the name that he used. And I was like, but at this time, the Navy's really starting to crack down on hazing and harassment. So the first thing I did was I emailed that whole entire email chain. I sent it to my wife because that does several things for me. One, the command has to review every email being sent off the submarine. And then it goes to ComSubPack, which they review all the emails coming in from the servers from the submarines. And then it gets reviewed by another guy. So I now have a paper trail of this guy hazing me. But I didn't need it. Anyways, everybody's like, as soon as I walk on the boat, they're all like, F you, Dryden. I'm like, what did I do? They're like, you're the reason we had to stay here all week. I'm like, that's not my fault. That wasn't my decision. I don't have the authority to make that call. Talk to the guys who did. They're all mad. Everybody's pissed off at me. And I'm like, great. What do I do? Well, the following Monday, my wife and I actually had a week of vacation. We were going to the Big Island. So we went out there, and I was stressing over this whole thing. And we stayed in these Kilauea military camps, KMC. But it was not far from the main Kilauea crater, volcanic crater. And I was stressing so hard. My wife's finally, she's like, look, I'm done dealing with you. You need to go out there and don't come back until you and God have come to a decision about what you're going to do with this whole military thing. Like, she was mad at me. So she sends me out there. So I go sit out on the edge of this volcanic crater, and I'm looking down, and there was a spot, like you could see some lava down there, but it was still approachable at the time. Underneath the stars, man, those stars.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, God, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I can't. I need you to do something. And I would like to say at this point, the skies were black and there was this loud booming voice. There wasn't. There was nothing, right? Nothing. I go back. We come back off of our vacation, our leave. And it was July 3rd, 2006. We just came out of a maintenance period. We're about to get ready to be deployed. So we have to do a testing everything. So we do this dry underway run tied to the pier. We call it a fast cruise. And during that time, they also run drills all the time. Make sure we're ready to go. And I was scheduled to be on that night and stay. And then also I was scheduled to work the July 4th. Remember, this guy made sure that I was always there. Well, my boss was very agitated. I don't know what his deal was, but he starts yelling at his boss. And they actually cleared out everyone while those two were duking it out, like yelling at each other. And then my engineering officer got involved, and they started yelling at each other. And then, long story short, we shut down the reactor. I actually got to go home that night. Came back the next morning. I come in, and everybody's like, "Hey, do you know what happened?" I was like, "No." They're like, "Well, after you left, your chief flipped out. He's in the brig." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." A few minutes go by. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden, the captain comes on. He comes to visit during, it's July 4th. It's a holiday. He doesn't have to be there. Every time a captain on a ship arrives, they always say USS, whatever the name of the boat is, So for us, it was Key West. USS Key West arriving, which means the captain's on board. About 10 seconds go by, and he calls for me over the loud PA system. Hey, where you at? I'm like, I'm back in the engine room. I can come to your stateroom. He's, no, I'm going to come talk to you. It's like, uh-oh.
Captain.
Yes. What's going on? So he comes and finds me now. He's actually a good, he's a good believer. He's actually a believer in Jesus, and he's a solid dude. I would follow that guy into hell and back. I kind of diverse here. He actually became the admiral of the 6th Fleet of the Mediterranean. He just retired not too long ago. So he was in charge of our forces. And I couldn't think of a better man to put those forces to those hands. But he comes back. He's like, hey, yeah, your chief's not coming back. I was like, why not? He goes, oh, he tried to kill me last night. I was like, oh, outstanding. Okay. So what's this all? And he goes, well, in the next 30 days, we're going to undergo this. They call it what's Operational Reactor Safeguard Exam, or ORS. It's think of it this way. Well, I'm trying to think. Think of it like if OSHA and the IRS show up at your job site on the same day.
Okay.
And they want to go through all your records. How would you feel?
A little stressed, a little pressured.
He goes
to perform.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so we're going through ORS. He goes, you're not going to have a chief. Can you do his job? I was like, I can do everything except for the paperwork, because there's parts of the paperwork that he refused to train me on. He goes, okay, I'll get somebody over here to help you learn it. So the next 30 days we go underway. I get a rider. What I mean by a rider is he's a chief, same rank, but he's on a different boat. And he's coming to us to help us get up to speed. So him and I go over everything, and we go through this whole examination period, and the whole entire department does what's called a below average. Now, without giving away all the Navy secrets, but if you get a below average with a message, you're not allowed to operate that reactor.
Okay.
So this is like just a step above that. Yeah, we're in deep trouble. Except my division came out average. There was a lot of grace shown there, but it sucked, man. I was constantly going back and forth to those officers' offices to bring them all sorts of paperwork, doing whatever they wanted. It was a really crappy time in my life. Like, I just hated life. But at the end of all that, the guys who were sitting there originally, like about a month before, all telling me F you, Dryden, for what they did. As the one, I was like, dude, what kept you going? I was like, man, it's my faith. They're like, how's it your faith? I was like, it's just, I'm doing what's the right thing to do. So, do I have the answers? No. I went from being the most hated dude on my submarine to the most respected dude on my submarine in less than 30 days. And that's how God answered that prayer. But it wasn't, I didn't hear a voice. I didn't hear a vision. I didn't have direction. I just did what I knew was ethically right and morally right. Just
one foot in front of the other.
That's it. That's all you can do. And every time in life I've discovered if it gets crappy, well, that's when I have to lean into him and be like, all right, what's going on? Help me get through this, because I don't know if I can survive this. I've had several situations in my life since then that are similar to that, but that one in particular really stood out to me because the answer to prayer was not in the form that I thought it was going to be. I've always been envious when I hear people talk about, I hear God talking to me all the time. I'm like, he don't say nothing to me. Instead, I he'll put me through something, and then at the end, it's like, are you getting the message yet? That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the closest I ever come to actually hearing a voice was last year. We were doing a brisket cook-off at my synagogue, and I'm sitting there trimming the brisket up. I was like, man, I hate cutting all this fat out. And I just had this, like, a thought pop in my head, like, yeah, it's kind of like me taking the sin out of you. And I was like, oh, man, I'm convicted right there. You got me. I'm convicted.
The fat's the good stuff. That stuff goes to God.
Yeah.
So where are you at now with your walk?
Still questioning what I'm supposed to do in life. I don't know about you guys. Have you got it figured out?
Oh,
No.
Have you ever had a plan for was a podcast a plan for your life? Or did you
no, podcast was not in the plan. No.
This is my plan.
Yeah, it was in Ben's plan. Yeah, he was like,
I can see that knowing you and the way things are.
Yeah. It was. It's funny. So back on that volcanic mountain and you're looking at the stars, did you speak verbally out loud, talking to God?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I was just being honest. I was just speaking out loud, venting my frustrations, essentially.
yeah, I think something recently that I've talked about on this podcast before is just the importance of speaking your prayers out loud. I think that there is some supernatural aspect to our words. And I'm not referring to like manifesting anything, but or any woo woo,
Well,
if you will. But I think there's something to it.
Yeah, there is something to it because, it's like, cast all your cares upon the Lord, for he cares for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do that? Like, I think that's part of the whole reason why we pray is to verbally express that. So
To get it out.
yeah, and there's something soothing and relieving about that. It's kind of like, confessing your sins one to another. There's something that's comforting in that, even though it sucks. Like, it's against human nature to confess one's feelings sometimes.
Right.
I can actually think of a good example in my life. I hadn't been married very long. In fact, Stephanie and I, we got married, and within the first year we had Alyssa. And then the advent of Facebook was coming around, and I found my like high school sweetheart, right? And all of a sudden I had all these feelings drumming up, right? I'm like, oh no, what am I supposed to do with this? So I go talk to my friends and all the secular guys. Dude, you can't tell her. You got to keep your mouth shut. But I did have one friend on the sub, and it's interesting because him and I have known each other since we were like 5. And how he got there was a strange turn of events too. But his uncle is actually my dad's best friend. But he was the only believer I knew at the time on the boat with me. And he's just like, this before we got that other captain. He's like, you got to tell her. I was like, I ain't telling her. He's like, you got to tell
Your
her.
wife?
Yeah. He's like, you got to tell your wife that you're struggling with this. So I was like, all right. So I went and told her. Oh man, she didn't talk to me for 3 days. She was mad. But getting it out in the open and I realized my internal feelings lie to me. Like, this is when I started really understanding the concept of love in its truest sense is a choice. It's not how I feel all the time. There are times you get up, and I used to have a youth group years ago, and I used to tell my youth students, like, there come a point when you're married, like, you'll wake up one day and you just look at your spouse, you'll be like, I don't like you. Like, I'm pissed off at you. You've hurt me. I'm mad at you. I don't like you. But I choose to love you. I choose to set all that aside and still maintain this relationship. That's when I really started to understand that concept.
Right.
Now, I have to say, every time God teaches me a concept, I have to go through it, and I'm getting tired of having to go through these things. I don't know about you guys. You don't have to go through that?
You can learn from other people's mistakes.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could. No, I have to make them myself because I'm an idiot.
I'm sure that's in a manual somewhere, though.
Manuals? Who needs manuals? We don't need manuals.
I mean, you like manuals.
Sorry,
Bible's a big manual.
That is true. That is the manual to life, kind of like the reactor plant manual was to the reactor plant. Now that I work in a natural gas plant, nobody looks at the manuals. Man, I remember one of the first times I was there, they asked me to start a piece of equipment. I was like, well, how do we do it? And they're like, just go out and do it. And so I was like, I went and grabbed the book, and I started up by the book. Well, it had this auto drain valve. It was basically an oil system where if it sensed water, it would open a valve to dump the water out until it no longer sensed it, and then it would shut. So I left it lined up, and they're like, oh, you can't do that. If that thing failed, we'd dump the whole thing. You're an idiot. I'm like, well, y'all wouldn't tell me how to start this, so I used the book. You mean the book's wrong? Yeah, don't look at the book. I'm like, how do you guys operate life? Like,
by feel. Play it by ear.
How many times has that worked out in your favor?
A few times for me. I was generally raised to be pretty cautious, though. So you feel your way through cautiously.
Cautiously.
Not just bulldozing. Or
you don't just grab life by the horns and...
probably be good if I did that more. Right, Ben?
Probably.
Yeah.
Red Bull.
So synagogue, you say. So where does that fall in the...
That is... where do I start with that one? Is it possible to take a break before I start that one?
Yeah.
We would love to.